Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're traveling back to the Roaring '20s. Flapper dresses, jazz music, and oh yeah, that stock market crash, the crash of 1929.
Everyone knows about that.
Exactly. But we're going beyond the headlines. Did you know that even shoeshine boys were giving stock tips right before the crash?
And get this, during his campaign, Herbert Hoover, he promised a chicken in every pot and a car in the backyard.
Talk about bad timing.
Yeah.
We're diving into an extra history YouTube video. It's called The 1929 Stock Market Crash Black Thursday.
Oh, I love those guys.
They're great.
Yeah.
So picture this, March 4th, 1929. Herbert Hoover, he's being inaugurated as the 31st president.
What a time to be alive, right?
Right. Everyone felt like America was unstoppable.
Yeah, Hoover pretty much said that in his speech. He was like, we're going to achieve a higher degree of comfort and security than ever existed before in the history of the world.
He wasn't wrong, at least not yet. I mean, it was the Roaring '20s, the Jazz Age. Everyone thought they could get rich, especially on Wall Street.
And the stock market was on fire. Like, when Hoover took office, the Dow Jones Industrial Average had just hit a record high, 381.
Wow.
Yeah, and everyone was buying stocks. But here's the thing. This kind of crazy upward trend, it fueled a culture of, well, speculation. People were so sure that stock prices would just keep going up, 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 that they started doing some risky things.
Look what?
Like buying on margin.
Buying on margin. Now, for those of us who aren't Wall Street wizards, what is that?
Okay, so imagine you want to buy, say, $100 worth of stock.
Okay.
But you only have $10.
Uh-oh.
Right. Well, with buying on margin, you could borrow the other $90 from a broker using the stock itself as collateral.
So it's like taking out a loan to buy stocks.
Exactly.
And I'm guessing that comes with some risks.
Big time. It magnified your gains, sure, but also your losses. If that stock price dropped, even a little, you could get hit with a margin call.
Meaning?
Meaning your broker comes knocking, demanding you repay the loan. And that often meant selling your assets at a huge loss.
Ouch. So if the market takes a downturn...
Disaster.
It sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It was a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
And everyone was doing it. Even, the video mentions a shoeshine boy giving stock tips.
Wow.
That's how widespread this was.
Okay, so we've got this booming economy, but it's built on, this foundation of sand.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any warning signs before Black Thursday?
Oh, yeah. The Federal Reserve, they were worried. They saw these crazy stock prices and they knew a crash could be coming.
So what did they do?
They tried to cool things down. They raised interest rates.
To, discourage borrowing.
Exactly. But, the global economy, it's all connected.
Right.
And this move, it had ripple effects, especially for nations still recovering from World War I.
It's crazy how interconnected things were even back then.
Oh, absolutely. And some analysts, they were waving red flags, saying the market was overvalued.
But nobody was listening.
Nope. They thought the good times would never end.
Because historically, the Dow always rebounded.
Right. They thought the American economy was invincible.
But then came October 24th, 1929. Black Thursday.
The day the music stopped.
So we've got this booming economy, but it's built on, shaky ground. And then Black Thursday hits. What happened? Paint us a picture.
So the trading floor, usually it's kind of crazy, right? But organized chaos.
Right.
This was different, total pandemonium. The video, it calls it a feeding frenzy. Traders, shouting, shoving,
Oh, wow.
desperate to sell their shares. They finally realized it wasn't going to magically rebound this time.
And everyone was affected. Right. It's not like we have the internet. How did news of the crash spread so fast?
So back then they had the ticker tape, right?
Yeah.
Revolutionary for its time. Basically, it printed stock prices on this continuous ribbon of paper.
So investors everywhere could see what was happening.
Exactly. But on Black Thursday, the sheer volume, it just overwhelmed the system. The ticker tape, it was hours behind.
Oh, no.
Brokers in other cities, they're making decisions based on, old information.
Wow, so they were flying blind.
Totally. And in all the confusion, the rumors started.
Like what?
People were saying stockbrokers were jumping out of windows.
That's awful.
It's a myth. It didn't actually happen. But it shows you the kind of fear that was gripping everyone.
Yeah. When that trust is gone, it's gone.
For sure. So as the market's crashing, some people are trying to, restore order. The big banking guys.
The bigwigs.
Yeah, like J.P. Morgan. He'd actually helped before back in 1907 during the panic.
So people saw them as heroes coming in to save the day.
Something like that. They used their money, bought up tons of stocks, tried to stop the bleeding.
And did it work?
It slowed things down for a bit, But it was a temporary fix, like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg.
Because the underlying problems are still there.
Exactly. Overvaluation, all that risky lending. The global economy was slowing down.
It was only a matter of time.
And the market still closed down that day.
The first domino.
Yeah, because then came Black Monday. And then Black Tuesday. It just kept spiraling.
And this is where those margin calls come into play, right?
Oh, yeah. Imagine picking up the phone and your broker is like, you've got 24 hours to pay me back thousands of dollars.
Thousands. That was a fortune back then.
Exactly. People had to liquidate everything, their homes, businesses.
Just to cover their losses.
Yep. Everyone was selling. No one was buying.
Recipe for disaster.
Total disaster. And that's kind of the difference between the crash and the depression.
Right. Yeah, so they weren't the same thing.
Yeah. The crash was huge. It destroyed tons of wealth. But the depression, that was way more complex.
So the crash was like the initial shock.
Yeah, and the depression was the long illness that followed.
I see.
The crash was a catalyst, but the depression had all these factors feeding into it. Overproduction, trade was down.
And on top of it all, everyone was just scared.
Absolutely.
This is when we see those pictures, bread lines, the bonus army. It's heartbreaking.
It really shows the human cost of what happened. Millions unemployed, their savings gone. It was devastating.
It really makes you think, even when things seem great, they can change in an instant.
That's for sure. 1929, it's a reminder about speculation, how it can get out of control, and the global economy, how it's all connected.
And we can't forget the people, right?
Absolutely. All those lives totally upended. Their savings, their dreams, everything gone.
It's easy to get caught up in the numbers, but ultimately, it's about people.
It is. And it makes you wonder, have we really learned from all this? Could something like this happen again?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, we've got regulations now, safeguards.
Right, but people are still people.
True. Fear and greed, those haven't gone anywhere.
And things move so fast now. Information, misinformation.
It's a whole different world.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm hearing is we can't get complacent.
Exactly.
You have to stay informed, ask questions.
Definitely. Don't just jump into anything.
Especially when it comes to something as important as your money.
Exactly.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the 1929 stock market crash.
Fascinating stuff.
It really is. From those exciting roaring 20s to the Depression.
Talk about a reality check.
Right. We looked at how it happened, but also what it meant for people.
Because that's what matters.
Exactly. Hopefully this gave everyone a better understanding of, how these things happen back then and even today.
History repeats itself.
That's the saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, until next time, keep asking questions and stay curious.